Conversation on Twitter is Emyooga licensing. A very great afternoon. Good to be with you. Mohwezi, good to see you again.
Good afternoon. Good to see you again.
Edie, it's an honor to be here with you. And Director.
Pleasure to be here.
We are having a conversation of money, so I am going to be extremely very careful. Readiness of Emyooga. Last time we had you, Mohwezi, and you explained to us what Microfinance Support Center has been in position to do in the last 20 years. Incredible work, remarkable milestones and all. But now that we have the regulator here, the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, Edie, just in a brief, what does your entity do as UMRA?
Thank you, moderator. As everybody has heard, my name is Edith Tusubira, Executive Director, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. The answer to your question is going to be as brief as you require. Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority exists to license, regulate, and supervise all microfinance business in the country. And this involves institutions like all SACCOs in the country, institutions like non-deposit taking institutions, which are microfinance leaning, and we also have self-help groups, and all money lenders in the country.
Wow.
We are supposed to know what's happening within their business to create a good market. And all this is empowered by what we call the Tier 4 Microfinance and Money Lenders Act 2016. In summary.
That's what it does.
Exactly.
Director Mtatina Nelson, you are at the level of supervision. And I'm sure when this report came out, the data was shared from your entity. 6,300 plus of these SACCOs were not registered, but they were operational. What does this mean to an entity like UMRA?
Thank you so much for that good issue that you have raised, which came out of the Auditor General's report. I want to give the public confidence that the Emyooga SACCOs still have a room to be licensed by Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. So in other words, they have not defaulted in terms of licensing and supervision.
Okay.
The reason is that the registration, which is done by the Registrar of Cooperatives under the Cooperatives Act 2020 as amended, and CAP 112, provides that a SACCO can be given 2 years probation operating until it gets a permanent registration certificate. So once the permanent registration certificate is issued, that's when a registered society that wants to carry out the business of financial services like credit and savings has to apply for the license from Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. And then according to the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act, the law gives the registered society 12 months to prepare to get a license from UMRA. So if I say that the first Emyooga SACCO was registered by the Registrar of Cooperatives in 2010, it has up to 3 years to 2020
to be fully fledged operation.
to prepare to get a license from UMRA. So having that said, we are still within the timelines for licensing the Emyooga SACCOs, but we have a hard task now to make sure that we do everything that is required so that by the time the 3 years elapse, of which we have already covered 2, these SACCOs are ready for licensing.
Mohwezi.
Yes, sir.
This brings me back to you. Now, you're the implementing arm. You are with our SACCOs every other day. By the way, the story of the guy from Mbarara was a remarkable one. I called my people in Mbarara. It was an incredible story. Okay. Now, when we look at all this, has the Microfinance Support Center disseminated rightful information with regards to sensitization and awareness towards the SACCOs, why it is intentional and imperative for them to get licensed, to get registered with UMRA? Have you done that? And if so, how are you doing it?
Okay, great question. When I was here last time, for the show, I remember we talked about what MSc has done to make the Emyooga SACCOs fully operational. And two conditions I think I gave. One was to strengthen their governance, the structures, the leadership, make sure the leadership is very strong. Yesterday, before I even go any further, I listened to the 11th Economic Forum, National Economic Forum.
Yeah.
It was a powerful forum.
I hope they touch on the interest rate, because I'm sure, ED, you listened to it yesterday. The interest rate was something I was very, very waiting for.
It was a powerful forum.
Yes, it was.
And the three things I picked from that forum, the forum recognized that the SACCOs, the savings groups, the self-help groups in general, are a critical tool not only for poverty reduction, but for financial inclusion. But they cannot do that if they are not strong. And that is why the concentration and focus on strengthening their governance system for MSc is very, very strong. UMRA is our critical partner in this effort, strengthening the structures of leadership. Now, what MSc has done in our initial trainings for both leaders of the leaders from the district local governments and task forces, and also the Emyooga leaders, Emyooga SACCO leaders, was to indicate to them that at a later date in the future, there is going to be licensing for you to be a fully recognized institution, Emyooga SACCO. So that they knew. But we were so careful because there is so much. You have to strengthen leadership, you have to do registration, you have to make sure the policies that you need to operate are in place, and you have understood them, and members have understood them. You have to comply with other requirements, and you have to make sure some did not even have offices. We had to negotiate with the district local governments to provide some space for them to start working. And licensing, I think UMRA is going to tell us it is not free. It is a cost. It adds to other costs that these Emyooga SACCOs have to contend with. So we indicated to them to prepare, just like Director has said, to prepare for that licensing that is going to come, that is inevitable, that is good for you. MSc is a government agency and works with formalized institutions, formal institutions. And so licensing is part of that process, to get them formalized, to get them recognized, to get them fully supported by government so that they can operate well and serve the interests of members. So we have indicated to them, and MSc is putting in place all measures to make sure that they fully comply, including to the licensing.
And you've passed on this information to the last mile on the ground.
They are aware, and what we have done now, together with UMRA, next week itself, for the last 2 weeks, we've been planning a comprehensive national training to these Emyooga SACCOs on what does it take for you to get licensed, what should you prepare, and how should you prepare. One of them, for example, is these SACCOs require to have a business plan. Now, a business plan is a document that is going to give them a roadmap on how they are going to operate and then make surpluses at the end of the day. How they are going to manage costs, how they are going to manage staff, how they are going to manage the products, how they are going to manage the market. So if this document is not in place, UMRA will find it difficult to license, because you are licensing to do what? You are licensing to do business. So there is no roadmap. So for us, what we are doing as MSc is to make sure that we address all the software issues, to make sure SACCOs have got what it takes to run as SACCOs, so that when UMRA finally comes to issue licenses, they are fully fledged to take off.
Edie, when I come back to you as UMRA, an entity, why should I? Because there are very many SACCOs in our localities, and they're operational. All this we're talking, it's noise to them. They don't know what is actually going on. Why should someone get licensed, for starters? What are the benefits that are there when someone gets licensed?
Thank you so much for that very important question. Number one, if you're licensed, you're doing business in a regulated environment, you're getting confidence and providing confidence in the market that you're not, for example, a mufere. You are doing very legalized business. And so, therefore, there is also other people, third party, checking on what you are doing. And the third party in this case will be UMRA. You can imagine if we had banks which are operating without a license in this country. And they are moving money from one spot to another without Bank of Uganda.
I don't want to imagine that.
I take this opportunity to inform Ugandans that UMRA is the Bank of Uganda of the SACCOs, of the self-help groups, your so-called Fomanigina, all those institutions, associations, but they must be registered at Uganda Registration Services Bureau. Okay. So it has to be a company. Oh. Yes. So not necessarily associations, but it has to be a company registered. And so we ensure that there is registration. So the benefits of licensing you is to take ownership. We have seen situations where people who come here stilishly doing business in Uganda without a license, you can end up losing your money. So it's very risky. A lot. There's a current case that is going on where I don't want to refer to as of the moment, but I want to inform the country that it is important for you to have a license in order to do credible business. It is important for you to have a license so you can benefit from the government business. You can do business with even private sector, but you must have a license that allows you to operate in the country. Nice. There are so many other benefits we can talk about. We can maybe refer to the director.
I refer to director, but before I go to the director, break it down for me from a layman to understand the TFO of microfinance, because we may appear that we know, but we literally don't understand. Especially those in the SACCOs don't understand the TFO of microfinance. What is that? We don't seem to understand it. Between SACCO, Yafe, and all we want is money from Microfinance Support Center. We go do our work.
Yes. Now, for me to educate the country, we have, in this country, the financial system has 4 tiers. The first tier has commercial banks. These are basically Stanbic banks, Standard Chartered, those big boys. They belong to tier 1. Then there's tier 2. Tier 2 has credit institutions. Usually we talk about Post Bank, we talk about Opportunity Bank. They come around there. Then we have tier 3 very quickly, because you want to preempt. Tier 3 is where institutions like Finca belong. You know, Finca was one of the institutions that started microfinance, but over time they started growing. They became also big mummies, I think I can call them. And now when they got stronger, they started collecting deposits. And so Bank of Uganda came up with that tier to allow them to also play in the market. So they belong to tier 3. Now, when it comes to microfinance, which is our market, the Ugandan market, it was required that we have our tier 4. And that tier 4 is where you'll find all the SACCOs, even if they take deposits, because they are doing member-based deposit taking. So you have tier 4, where all those SACCOs belong. You have the self-help groups. You have the non-deposit taking microfinance. You remember I told you that those that take deposits belong to tier 3, while the one that doesn't take deposit remains under tier 4. Then tier 4 has all the money lenders. So all the money lenders out there must know that they must pick a license from UMRA. And if you know one who is giving you money and they are not licensed, just know that that business can go hayway anytime. So just you just know that we have our tier 4, and tier 4, I want to explain again, the tier 4 sector, the beauty, it has Ugandans' money. Ugandans' money is under tier 4. For once in a while, today we are going to say it is being regulated. It is being given a space to operate well. It is a market structure. for Ugandans.
Well regulated.
Exactly.
Director Nelson, I want now to come to you. Taking us through the criteria, we have our SACCO under Emyooga, and we're a group that is very vibrant. We're doing our business, and we're even competing in the Emyooga Savings Challenge 2022. That's a challenge going on. If you're one of those who has not yet gotten into that phase, you better get in, because Emyooga Savings Challenge is underway. Exactly. What are the criteria of me getting into the licensing? What do we need as a SACCO to come to UMRA, and our SACCO is registered, and we are under Emyooga still?
Sure.
Yes.
You are right. And the law is non-discriminative when it comes to licensing.
Yeah.
Whether it's Emyooga SACCO, there are some SACCOs which are institutional, like teachers SACCOs, police SACCOs, URA SACCOs, parliamentarian SACCOs.
They also have a SACCO.
Yeah, they have a SACCO.
No, that is serious.
Yeah, so they are institutional based. There are those which were formed during the Prosperity for All program, at sub-county levels. So the law looks at all the SACCOs, and it requires them to register first. And the registration is done under the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives by the Registrar of Cooperatives. And the Cooperative Society Act Amendment 2020 clearly lays down the requirements for registration. Now, once the SACCO is registered, for a SACCO to carry out a business of financial services, it requires a license from UMRA. You know, there are so many cooperative societies. Some of them are produce cooperatives, others are transport cooperatives. So those ones we don't, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority does not license and regulate them. The authority is interested in financial service providers. That is the uniqueness that SACCOs have from other cooperatives. And the law requires them to be licensed, regulated, and supervised. So step number one for complying with the licensing requirements is to be registered. So what you do as a SACCO, Emyooga SACCO, any other SACCO, you pick an application form, which can be got from our website, UMRA website, or it can be picked from Rwenzori Towers at our offices physically. You fill the application. That application is Form A for Schedule 1 of the SACCO regulations for UMRA. Once it is filled, there is a criteria for a SACCO to fall under Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. The first criteria is that it must, of course, have the certificate from the Register of Cooperatives. Secondly, it must fall within the threshold for the UMRA SACCOs. There are two thresholds. So SACCOs are registered, are licensed under two regimes. There is a regime for Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, which stops at SACCOs who have 1.5 billion shillings in terms of voluntary savings and share capital of 500 million Uganda shillings. Those ones fall under UMRA, but regime 1 of UMRA. Then there are those which are so huge, and those ones are left to the central bank, Bank of Uganda. Those ones have excess in terms of voluntary savings, excess of 1.5 billion. And in terms of share capital, they have over 500 million Uganda shillings. So the SACCO should know where it falls. You have now it is registered by the Register of Cooperatives. It falls under the threshold. The other one, it must have a fixed office premises, which are suitable for the business of financial services, which can be accessed. So here the law tries to eliminate briefcase SACCOs. You find somebody is moving with the SACCO, is an individual, the chairperson in the SACCO. So it must have conducive offices, workspaces for a SACCO. Then the other requirement is that it must have management structure. At least it should have had board meetings twice a year before it applies for a license from UMRA.
With the minutes?
with the minutes, and it should have held an AGM, annual general meeting, at least in the previous year before it applies. Then once those are met, that criteria, if it's met, then you attach some requirements to the application. And these include audited financial statements.
Of how many years? 2 years, 1 year?
It can be for the previous year, 1 year, for licensing at least to begin with. Then you should also attach the structure of management. You should attach the particulars of the executive committees and senior management. But their identity cards, maybe national IDs, their particulars should be indicated. Okay? Then there is a form which you fill for fit and proper. It is a fit and proper form for the management, and executive committees. The regulations have a form which they use which we use at UMRA as a measure of the fitness and properness of who should run a SACCO. So once you have such requirements, which actually a healthy SACCO, a SACCO that is sound and is operational, such information or requirements should be in place. Then you pay for the application fee, which is 50,000 Uganda shillings, application form. Now, once you submit the required documents, the authority now moves to the premise, to the offices of the SACCO to carry out an assessment of what was submitted, a validation of some sort, to know that this SACCO is existing, it's operational, and it deserves to be licensed. Then the licensing committee reviews the application, and the application is issued. Once the documents are in place, give or take, it should not take more than 2 weeks for a SACCO to get a license.
Wow. James, when you hear all this conversation, it is it's very interesting for me, and at the same time intriguing, mind-blowing, the processes and all that. Do you as Microfinance Support Center at times sort out these? Like they should come to you and say, well, this is where we are lacking this documentation. Do you give that kind of advisory to these SACCOs that it readies them for sorting on the other end?
Very interesting to you, but sometimes repulsive
to others,
to the Emyooga SACCO.
Oh yes,
because
I just saw a tweet here. Someone said they don't be a Ruzungu nyo.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, because they look at it as so much
paperwork
of the requirements and paperwork. But then we go to the side of benefits. If you are licensed, I think ED has ably talked about it. If you are licensed, what do you benefit? In our training approach, we go to the benefit side. For the members to really appreciate the benefits of being formal and operating in a legal environment. For example, last time I mentioned that we have encouraged these SACCOs to save. That is why we are running this Emyooga SACCO Savings Challenge, which we launched on 29th of March this year. And that requires Emyoogas to continue saving and build a lot of savings, because it is capital for the members to access credit cheaply. So 63 billion has been saved. Saved. 63 billion shillings has been saved by our Emyooga SACCOs. But then the question is, she mentioned that we have money lender. If you are borrowing from a money lender that is not licensed, be careful.
Yeah, your money is not safe.
Equally, if you are saving with a SACCO that is not formal, not licensed this time, because we are preparing them towards for licensing. So if you are saving with a SACCO that is not formal, it means you are saving with an institution that is not legal, that is not recognized. Now, if tomorrow you wake up and you go to the counter to withdraw your savings, and they tell you your savings are not there, it means the sector is not sound.
Again, let's backtrack a bit.
Yeah.
By formal you mean, because
by formal, first of all, we mean you are registered, you are a registered cooperative society.
Through the ministry.
Through the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. You are registered. You have the bylaws. You have a working space and office that is recognized. You have got leaders. And you know, when they are registering, these leaders, we capture all their details, the national IDs. The profiling is done properly so that we can trace them. So that is what we mean by formal. You are legal. And we require that your registration certificate is clearly visible, displayed in your working space. So when you are legal, it means members have confidence. Director talked of confidence. So all these measures are towards building confidence in the sector, confidence in the institution by members, that you can save with your institution, and tomorrow when you need this money, you can easily access it. So to answer your question, when we are doing training, all this is what we are handling. He mentioned the balance sheet, which was Ruzungu now this time, that they have to present.
No, that's it.
That they have to present audited. Now, what is audited? A balance sheet, an income statement. And remember, I told you that we are breaking these training manuals into local
languages,
so that members can easily understand these English things. What is a balance sheet? What is an income statement? But to break it down for you, these SACCOs, why I said it is interesting for you and scary for them, you have got things to contend with, expenses. You have, even on savings, by the way,
the expenses.
A SACCO will pay an interest on the savings that a member has
deposited.
Kutereka with the SACCO, or deposited with the SACCO. Then you have operational expenses, things to help you run a business, pay staff, buy pens, buy paper, all the pay bills, all these things. You have financing expenses, because we are preparing them to not depend on handouts. Be an independent operating institution as a society. Members are saving, members are buying more shares. We are encouraging them to mobilize members to buy more shares, so that they have a strong capital base for them to operate, but also meet compliance requirements, which most of the time you have to meet some of the fees. You have got a stabilization fund. You have got a financing facility you have to contribute to. You have got a protection fund. You have got operational fees. You have got financing fees. All these things are fees. But when we are training them, we prepare them. Where do you get this money to meet all these expenses for you to run independently?
As a SACCO.
As a SACCO, not to depend on handout, government, this and that. We don't have a safe, we don't have a pen, we don't have paper. That is not a strong institution. And when we talk of access to cheaper capital for members to do business, because ultimately that is the purpose.
That's the goal.
That SACCOs are there to meet the demands for cheaper credit where the private sector lenders are not going. Again, I'm coming to what we listened yesterday in the Economic Forum. And that is the mandate of MSC. And that is why we work with partners to achieve that mandate. MSC's mandate engenders us to go where any private sector lender does not want to go.
They feel it's risky.
It is risky indeed. So because risky in the sense they are maybe less educated, these are the English that we are talking about, they don't have the required collateral, but they need capital to do business. By the way, they are the strongest business people in this country. Those people that we are working with, the Emyoogas, the informal sector, they are doing genuine business.
That's true.
Genuine trade. Trade means you buy a pen here for 1,000, sell it at 1,100.
And they do.
And you keep on recouping that profit until you grow with time. So we are preparing these Emyooga SACCOs to be able to stand independently, minus every time you have something to do, government handout.
Well, the conversation, that is James Muhwezi, the spokesperson from the Microfinance Support Center. The conversation is about Emyooga licensing. If you're one of those in those SACCOs and your SACCO is not formal, your money is hanging on a bad cliff. And if you're not licensed still, you better follow the dynamics. So we'll take a break for now, but you can give me a message on Twitter. The hashtag is Emyooga licensing. I'll jump your Twitter and I'll read the question you have to the EDO, the director, or to James on how best you can get your SACCO of Emyooga get licensed. We'll be back shortly. Emyooga licensing. My name is Andrew Jamageno, and the conversation is about Emyooga licensing. In studios with me, I have the spokesperson from the Microfinance Support Center that is celebrating 20 years of financial inclusion. That is James Muhwezi. I have the ED from the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. That happens to be Miss Edith Tusubira. And I have the acting director of supervision from UMRA. That is Nelson Mutatina. I want to come to you, ED.
Yes.
Before James winded up, you badly wanted to supplement on what he was actually saying. And before I ask, I want you to go down into it straight up.
Okay, thank you so much once again. I would like to thank Ugandans who have responded to register under the Emyooga SACCOs. I like to encourage Ugandans to ensure that we support these government initiatives and also go a step ahead to ensure that we are regulated under this system. All initiatives that have started in this world, they start like this, with a lot of disbelief. But even with your disbelief, just get in. Just get in. I encourage you to get in. There are things that we want to unpack here for Ugandans as UMRA. UMRA, as I told you, we want to organize Tier 4 sector in a very, very special way. So what is coming very soon is we are going to get SACCO Savings Protection Fund. And that one is also going to be provided by government, partly, but we encourage you to be in that SACCO, in that Emyooga, then you benefit from it. So we are not stopping at that.
Director, you've called it a SACCO
Savings Protection Fund.
So it's more like the depositors protective fund on the other end.
Compared with Bank of Uganda.
Okay.
Exactly. And so we want to continue encouraging the market to keep growing. Ugandans, we cannot manage interest rates when we don't have our own source of market. We have to have our market, which is going to grow stronger as we go by, and then after that we can be in control of that market. Now, it requires credibility, it requires risk management, it goes into making sure legal systems are working right,
compliance,
making sure compliance is in place, but also a proper regulator. And I can assure you, Ugandans, we are a regulator to reckon with. So savings will also be verified and protected by UMRA. Let us have another eye. We have been having a lot of money, very many things going on in this market, which are quite fraudulent. So you now have UMRA to look at the savings, and all the people who have been managing these savings and have been fraudulent, I would like to ask you to stop the habit, because we shall be checking on those SACCOs and confirming whether people's money exists and is safe, and they are good to go in their businesses. Now, we also have what we call the complaints handling system. Under complaints handling is a tool where you see Tier 4 is a very huge sector. If you remember what I told you, that huge sector, you can only manage it with a tool. So what is in place right now, Mr. Moderator, is we have a complaints handling tool. So we go specific. When you have a complaint, register it with UMRA, and we shall follow it to the conclusion so that you can get a problem solved. Don't fight. Don't go to the courts of law before you come to UMRA.
Because it will come back to
ways. We have ways we are managing. We are also coming up with what they call MIS, Management Information System. And on that system, we are going to be having all our licenses there.
So before I get the money, I first check.
Yes, you're going to have to check very soon. Look out for all our licenses. They're going to be in the papers, such that you know who to deal with, those that are actually doing business right. There is also what we call the Credit Reference Bureau or mechanism under our law, which is coming. So we shall be knowing who is borrowing with us, who is borrowing under tier 1 to 3 regulated by the central bank, failing to pay there and picking money from tier 4 because it's still weak, and you are taking it to pay under tier 1.
Yes.
So we want to manage all that. But also on the issue of interest rates, because moderator, you talked about interest rates.
Because that's what is in the market.
In there. But for us to move in there, all the things that I've talked about must be in place. And so what we are planning to work on is be educating you on a daily, on our website. You go and see who is the best lender, because we shall be pushing there. If you, for example, borrow 5 million, you can know who can give it to you at a best rate. So if we create that awareness to the public, then they will not be overcharging you.
Oh, on the ground.
So we shall control the interest rates in that indirect way, and there will be in very serious impact.
Wow.
I really want to thank Ugandans. They have responded to our licensing call. They have responded to our regulatory and supervision requirements, and I want to announce right now that we have over 1,200, closing into 1,300 institutions of Ugandans that are on board with UMRA, being properly licensed and regulated.
That is a great conversation there. Coming to you, Director Nelson, you say the Form A, I can find it online or visit Rwenzori. I'm in a Beam district. I don't have internet, but we have a SACCO, and I cannot afford to travel to Kampala. What do I do?
Yeah, we are addressing that through the establishment of the management information system, which the executive director has already talked about. This will allow our potential licensees to fill the form online and send it to UMRA for consideration. Okay. So this is what we are considering, and under our long-term digital transformation project to ensure that this it can be done digitally. And we appreciated this issue that you are raising during the lockdown because of COVID-19. The coverage is because the movements were banned, and we really started now thinking of online registration, and it is work in progress.
Maybe what I can add, what we are doing, I mentioned that UMRA is our great partner. Yeah. And what we are doing together with our other partners is to make sure these Emyooga SACCOs are not destabilized, walking distances to access a service. So working with UMRA,
yet it's inclusion.
We are talking of inclusion. Everything should be easily accessed. So we shall work with UMRA, and we are already doing that. I indicated to the viewers that next week we are starting a comprehensive national training with UMRA. And what we shall do, MSC has, the Microfinance Support Center has got offices across the country. These ones will be the contact offices for UMRA. All these documents that are required, our officers will be trained to understand how to fill them, and they support our Emyooga SACCOs also to fill them. Okay. We also work with the district local governments. So wherever they are, up to the sub-county level, we shall take all these forms, UMRA forms for licensing, training materials, whatever the SACCOs require, we'll make sure it is delivered to their next doorstep so that they are easily accessed.
Wow, that makes sense. I want to see how does that plug in the NDP3 and the parish model where we're going, especially the licensing of Emyooga and the compliance we're looking for. How does it plug in the NDP3? Especially now the parish model where everyone, my people on the ground, some of them, they hear this parish, some have grasped, some are, it is half-baked, inadequate information, misinformation. But now that we have you here, James, could you throw more light? How does this entire Emyooga conversation of licensing plug into that national agenda?
I will just address you to goal one, to the goal of NDP3. Which defines our mandate actually. The goal of NDP3 is to make sure that the community, Ugandans, Ugandans' quality of life improves. That is the goal of NDP3. But it is going to improve through certain measures. One is sustainable job creation, sustainable industrialization, and sustainable wealth creation. Now, what is Emyooga? Emyooga, yes, Presidential Initiative on Job and Wealth Creation. So we are playing in the field of NDP3. And like I said, we use institutions like SACCOs and associations which we established at parish level. The NDP3 is establishing SACCOs at parish level. MSc established associations at parish level. So in other words, we prepared way. We have created a foundation for NDP3 to take root. That's what we have done.
You're giving it the safe landing.
A safe landing. So we have institutions already created. You want to create SACCOs at parish level. You have your associations. You have got farmers already organized. Because remember, Emyooga, we are dealing with entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. You are dealing with. So all those ones are already established for the NDP3 take root.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Edie, when the director was talking about, Nelson there was talking about the 2 years on probation. What is UMRA doing in those 2 years of probation? Because now, these 2 years of probation, are you watching me? Are you trying to look, am I compliant? What are you looking out for so that when we know we can work upon it or we work towards the goal to jump to the other third year of compliance and we get licensed as a SACCO?
First of all, thank you once again. Part of what we are doing is called capacity building. And under capacity building, we are now talking of, if you heard very well what my colleague from MSc is saying, we are ensuring that service gets nearer to the person.
Yeah, convenience.
But we are not even just going to stop there. We are working on digitizing UMRA.
The service.
And that is, when we go digital, it means that wherever somebody will be, the service will reach there. But we are also not leaving it at just digitization. We are also helping you to put space for you to be able to comply. And then we shall be able to follow these institutions to the letter. All the contact offices of MSc where our information will be, we are making it creating an enabling environment for whoever is out there with the Emyooga SACCOs, but also indeed also the parish development model SACCOs will also follow suit. We shall still go ahead and prepare them. I just want to still insist telling Ugandans that let us just be forward looking, make this market work, enjoy what we call Tier 4. When you hear Tier 4, just know that that is our market, that is our thing, our Ugandan made money, and then we make it grow and have these things work. And if we have government supporting Tier 4 sector, we should just get on board. That is what I can say for now.
Wow. Director Nelson, what are the consequences of non-compliance with UMRA, especially when we are in a SACCO? If we don't comply, what lays ahead for us as a SACCO?
One of the consequences, if you have a license already, it can be revoked if you don't comply.
Okay.
And you can't be a SACCO, by the way. You can't be called a SACCO if you are not licensed by UMRA. That is in accordance to Section 40 of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act. A cooperative society which intends to carry out business of financial services is required to get a license from Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. So if you don't have the license, then you are an illegal entity. You are not a SACCO. You can't
use the word bank.
You cannot use the word bank, for example, if you are not licensed by Bank of Uganda under the Financial Institutions Act.
So you can't use the word SACCO.
You can't use the word SACCO if you are not regulated by UMRA or Bank of Uganda, as per Section 110 of the Act, which amends the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act.
Okay.
So, if you are there, you have the license, and you don't comply, these are the consequences. The license can be revoked.
That's one.
The authority can issue administrative sanctions. The SACCO can be prohibited from paying dividends.
To the members?
To the members.
So that means members need to always make sure that they're licensed because any dividends are mine.
Yes, yes, that is very important. Then the other one, the SACCO can be prohibited from, mobilizing savings. You can imagine if a SACCO is stopped from mobilizing savings.
And that's the backbone.
The SACCO can be stopped from, prohibited from investing in some ventures. So that is limitation on investments. But all in all, apart from the prohibitions, if the SACCO does not comply, there are also fines and imprisonment. And
in addition to that...
Imprisonment, the entire SACCO is imprisoned or the executive? We need to know who goes to prison.
It depends, but mostly it is the executive and the senior management.
And the senior management.
Depending on, it is case-to-case basis.
Okay.
But that is the general provision for the consequences of non-compliance.
Okay. Edie, you wanted to supplement?
Yes, in addition to what Director Supervision has said, we still have a window. We want to encourage compliance here as much as possible, because when I use the word Tier 4, our market, we want to encourage inclusion in that market. So we want to make sure that everybody out there can actually get in, and we get sorted, we run our market, we get it the space that it requires within our Uganda. Yes.
I hear you. As we're finalizing, Mohezi, let's talk about the Emyooga Savings Challenge. I can't let you go off here without talking about that. Where are we? How are we holding up? Are people applying? And those applying, how are they applying?
People are applying. We have put application forms in all our branches across the country. And the Mulanga, the core.
Yes.
The core has reached the entire country. This was launched on 29th of March, like I said, and all Emyooga SACCOs are eligible to participate in this challenge. Pick the form, fill the form, our officers will help you to fill, and then deadline is 7th of September.
Okay.
October is when we have the gala, where we shall be rewarding.
The grand finale.
The grand finale is September, where we are going to be rewarding the best savers, Emyooga SACCOs. So please pick the forms. We have a branch in Kabale, we have Ntungamo, Barara, Fort Poto, Hoima, Kampala, Jinja, Mbale, Soroti, Arua, Lira, and Iganga and Nakaseke Ngoma. Please pick the forms. Pick the forms from our district local governments and you fill them, and then you participate in the challenge.
Well, now you have it. If you're one of those Ugandans who actually leads a group of savers, today is one of those days. You want to compete in the Emyooga Savings Challenge. You now know where to go to the district, pick this form. They're not online, right?
They are physical forms and easy to fill.
Nice. So, fellow Ugandans, as we start off this day, I want to remind you we're going into a new month that is going to finalize our quota of this quarter, because we signed the quota in April, May. Now we're going to June. One thing I want to ask you as a colleague, someone who is in a SACCO, is your SACCO formal? Are you sure you have structures? Is it registered? If it's registered, is it licensed? If it is not of the two, your money hangs in a balance. You work so hard for that money, you better make sure that it is safe. In the studios today, I had James Samoezi, the spokesperson from the Microfinance Support Center, and we had the ED of UMRA, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, Editha Tusubira, and I had the Director Supervision from the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, Mr. Nelson Mutatina, and you, the great viewer. The question is, all this is being done to make sure that Ugandans can develop. We can fight poverty from household level to national level. What is your take on this? Are you doing your job? This show is powered by Microfinance Support Center in partnership with the UMRA. Good afternoon.